In this video, I'm going to share with you the quickest way to get to a consistent 50K to 100K a month in actual take-home after-tax profit in your online coaching business, and take that profit and turn it into actual wealth in your bank account so that you can join the real 2 comma club. And that is having 2 commas in your bank account, not just on your Stripe screenshot. All right, but to do that, we got to cover 2 things. First thing, I want to walk you through the stages of wealth building in your online coaching business. I'm gonna walk you through like what that path looks like and probably where you're stuck. Second, I'm gonna walk you through the 6 systems that you need to install. Once you install these systems, you pretty much inevitably will become a liquid millionaire and have a consistent profit and the freedom that you started your business for in the first place. And by the way, you don't have to work any harder. You don't have to hire more people. It's not gonna require some huge business model overhaul. No. This is taking the existing business that you already have, installing a few systems to make it actually print profit consistently month over month with mathematical certainty. I've actually done this for myself. I've scaled 3 online businesses past 7 figures. The first one was an agency that I started in the beginning of 2018. And I just share this with you to give you some context. This was my first 7-figure business. We built that to over 400 clients, a team of 23, and I exited that business right here in 2019. Started selling courses and stuff on how we did it. Started coaching people right around here, and started the business that I currently run called Bulletproof Entrepreneur. And I've been running that all the way here till present day. And business number 3 is our tracking company that we started right here and still run to this day. And that is called Teddy. And here's kind of a zoomed in screenshot of net worth. And, you know, maybe that's a big number to you. Maybe it's not. But the game here is profit and wealth building so that we have enough liquidity so that we never have to coach again if we don't want to. And what's really interesting is these same systems are what have allowed me to help some of the biggest names in the industry scale to 50K, 100K, 200K, 500K. I even have a couple clients that have scaled beyond levels that I've even reached, over $1 million a month. We've got guys like Brandon, Dan Henry, my good friend Eli Wild, Ravi Abuvala, Justin Saunders, Elliot Hulse, Victoria Kennedy, Brian Mancata, and Casey Shipp. But what's really wild is our clients who follow what I'm about to share with you on average grow by 78% in their first 90 days. And our average client does around $153,000 a month. But just to give you some context of, you know, at least what's possible. I'm not making income claims here. We don't do any guarantees or anything like that. It's just the byproduct of some very simple systems that I'm about to share with you. All right, so here we go. Let's look at the stages of freedom specifically for an online coaching business. So we started from the bottom, now we're here. So stage 1, this is the startup phase. This is when you started hustling, you had $0, you kept grinding, you got yourself to 5K a month, and that's take-home profit in your business. So where you graduated to the survival stage. You're investing in programs that teach you the knowledge. So you had to learn at this stage what to do, right? How do I position myself, find my niche, validate my offer, get my first leads, my first clients, my first funnel, all of that stuff. And at this point, if you're watching this, you're well beyond this. And so you started growing, but then as you built systems and you hired a couple people, you started kind of firefighting, right? But at this point, you're making at least probably 10K a month in take-home profit. Not bad, but it started to get chaotic. You got more people coming into your ecosystem, you got followers, a list that you're building, campaigns you got to manage, maybe a small team, everything relies on you. But you kept firefighting, grinding, hustling, and you got into the stage of competition, right? And that's where you're somewhere between 10K a month and 50K a month. Maybe you've got somewhere between 25K and maybe even 100K in the bank. Maybe you have a 6-figure net worth, at least a 5-figure net worth. You've probably been able to upgrade your lifestyle a little bit. Your family looks at you different and you started feeling good about yourself, but you kind of started stalling. You hit a plateau and you kind of jockey back and forth here between chaos and competition. Maybe people started like ripping your stuff off. You started getting ad accounts shut down and your team did some dumb shit that cost you money. And this lower group of stages here are the stages of knowledge. And so, as we've all heard, what got you here won't get you there, right? And so that's why if you continue to invest in courses, mentorships, masterminds, programs, and you're like, I've heard all of this before, but I'm still stuck. Well, that's why, is because you're still investing in knowledge when you probably already know what to do. By the way, on the right side of this, we'll call this energy, and we'll say on this side is our profit, right? And so at this point, you're probably stalling, burning out, firefighting, dealing with team drama, and you're not actually able to work on the business because you're too busy running around doing doing everybody's jobs for them, fixing mistakes and trying to figure out what to do. Well, that's the problem, is you're trying to figure out what to do. And so to be clear, in the rest of this video, I'm specifically talking to you if you are in this red box right here. But we don't want to live there. We want to get to the stage of freedom. And that's going to be 100K a month take home, right? And at this point, now we're flowing. Things are relatively frictionless. We've got money just kind of coming in. Things feel smooth and simple. We can do whatever we want for the most part. We still have to work because we haven't made enough to exit the game entirely yet, but it's relatively stress-free. But that's not the ultimate goal. The real freedom is this level that I call immortality, and that is infinity, where you have enough liquidity, meaning cash, stocks, crypto, things that you could click a button and convert into cash and pay for stuff with. And you have enough of that to draw down on it and live your ideal lifestyle forever into perpetuity, even if your coaching business entirely shits the bed. That's the goal that me and my clients are after. At that point, you're just playing. And so if knowledge gets you to this point of chaos and competition, what is it that gets you to the point of freedom, immortality, where you're flowing, where you're playing, where things feel simple? Well, given that you already know the what to do's, the mechanics, we need, at this point, wisdom. And in simple terms, that's just how to think. Because the only difference between you and the person that's richer than you with pretty much the same business as you is they have all of the same knowledge as you. And in fact, right now you have YouTube, you have ChatGPT. It teaches you pretty much anything you need to know faster than ever, right? So knowledge is now a commodity. Everyone's got access to the same knowledge. There's some people that are crushing it and getting rich, and some people aren't. So the reason you haven't gotten past this line yet is because you're still seeking more what to do's. And so what we're going to do right now is I'm going to walk you through the game plan that, as you'll see, has a very high probability of getting you up here into freedom, into flow, into play, into profit, into wealth building. And you'll have a pretty darn clear path to becoming a liquid millionaire with your online coaching business. So you don't have to firefight and grind and stall out and burn out anymore, right? So let's get into the plan. Hey, real quick, if you've already heard enough and you just want to find out what it looks like to work together, just find me on Instagram at bulletproof.john. There's probably a link below this video as well. And just DM me the word bulletproof. And I've got a little automation that'll send you all the details, pricing. We don't have any setters or closers or anything like that. So do that and we'll chat soon. So on this plan, the goal here is 7-figure freedom. We'll just call it that, right? And that is we're going to become a liquid millionaire, predictable profit. Now, this is going to look different for everyone because you probably have different goals than I do. But take my client, Justin Saunders here. When Justin started with me a few years ago, he was doing about 18K a month and he maybe had like 20 or 25 grand to his name. Long story short, by going through what I'm about to share with you, Justin has not only scaled his business to multi-seven figures, he's consistently over 400K a month now, but Justin was able to actually become a liquid millionaire while buying his dream cars, his dream house, flying his clients private all over the world in masterminds to Ibiza and the Bahamas. And there's ways to do that responsibly. And then there's other people who, well, let's just say they do dumb shit. And so you don't want to be one of those. You want to be like Justin. Or maybe you're like Casey here. She scaled to over 229K a month there. And when she started with me, she was right around 70K a month. But she says here, record month after letting go of 3 team members and 2 of them were closers. And that was taking a week off for the hurricane and less calls. So good decisions. That's the wisdom part. And there's 3 outcomes that we need to have happen in order for that freedom to occur. And so that first outcome is clarity. Next is we need to have control. When we have clarity and we have control, we then can generate wealth, right? The game is wealth, not revenue. All right, in pursuit of those 3 outcomes, there's 3 main obstacles that online coaches experience when they're in that chaos or competition stage. And the first problem is a time problem. Second problem is a stress and energy problem. And the third problem is cash flow, specifically consistency of cash flow. Right? So there's a million things that you know you should be doing, right? But you keep getting pulled in a million directions. You've got client calls, team meetings, systems to build, content to make, family stuff to do. The second problem is that you're stressed out and your energy is draining. You're getting tired and you keep telling yourself that you can keep up with it, but beneath the surface, you're not sure. Your team's pissing you off. You feel guilty when you're with your family physically, but your mind is on your team and there's a lot of mental chatter and mental chaos. And that makes you feel guilty. And to make make things worse, we're constantly getting fed with ads and content trying to tell us that the old way is bad, the new way is good. We get sucked into that. And that third problem is inconsistent cash flow and not much of a plan. Maybe you have some spreadsheets, you take your accountant or bookkeeper's word for it, but you're getting payrolls, ad spend, and then you get a surprise tax bill that you're not sure how you're going to pay. And before you know it, all of the profit that you thought you were going to have from your coaching business is gone. And you're sitting there going, what the fuck? So we've got no time, high stress, and cash flow issues. So if any one of those is true for you, why don't we talk about solutions, shall we? All right, our job on the time side, really simple, time freedom. That's what we're after. That's the goal. And we know we've done this when we have a business that runs itself, right? And we have full autonomy to spend our time however we want. On the stress side, we want that mental freedom, right? And we know we've achieved that when we have peace of mind every day. Right? We're feeling good. We're feeling chill. We're not buzzing. We're not, oh, gotta. We have just this calm focus. We just got this, right? No matter what happens. And thirdly is the financial freedom. And that is, we want our wealth growing every month. So I'm going to walk you through the 6 systems that actually make this happen. And what I want you to do is follow along here. And the important thing here is to kind of use this like a diagnosis tool, right? So you'll see these little circles on the outside of this thing. As we go through each of these systems, what I want you to do is kind of score yourself. And we're going to find out where we might have some gaps that we can fill in. So for each of these areas, a 5 equals this is great. A 3 equals it's okay. And a 1 is needs work, maybe a lot of work. All right. So as we go throughout this, just want to go, are we a 1? Are we a 3? Are we a 5? All right. So is that cool? All right, let's do it. So on the time side, the first thing that we need to do is free up your time. That makes logical sense, right? So we need to get you out of the weeds, and we need to figure out what we need to do more of, what we need to do less of, and what we need to eliminate, what we need to delegate, what we need to automate. And it's pretty simple. We have a tool for this that it's called the time audit tool that automatically finds, without fail, a minimum of 5 to 10 hours a week for our clients so that we can get them out of the weeds and get their head above water and get out of the chaos for a second. So when you're thinking about how you're currently spending your time, are you crystal clear on what you should be doing? Are you procrastinating on stuff? Are you able to do whatever you want when you want? Are you putting out fires? If you feel great about it, give it a 5. If it's okay, decent-ish, give it a 3. If it really needs work, give it a 1. I would say most coaches here are kind of in that 3 territory, but whatever it is for you, put that down. All right, we've got our time freed up. Now what? Well, we need to make it so that you don't get sucked down back into the weeds again, whether it's in your business or your personal life, right? And so to do that, we need to simplify and automate. So when your business and your personal life are complex and manual, you'll spend a lot of time putting out fires, something that takes you away from things you could and should be doing. You're spending time looking for stuff, stuck on calls and in meetings. And most coaches just think they need to get really good at putting out fires. That's totally unnecessary. So what we do is we have a process that identifies the root problem that is causing these fires. In other words, that's a symptom of an earlier problem. So I really love when this clicks for people. This guy, he's one of the most sought after media buyers in the world. He has an agency and he does consulting. We actually tripled his profit because he had a ton of staff, a ton of processes, and he and his team were spending hours and hours managing these processes and the staff and writing SOPs and maintaining and training. And when we applied what we call our freedom systems process, it turns out the majority of what his team was spending time on was a thing that his clients didn't even want, nor were they using in the first place. And so we just cut out a huge part of his fulfillment and it tripled his profit and his clients had a better experience. And so this process either dramatically reduces or completely eliminates all future fires and bullshit. And we apply this framework to your marketing, sales, operations, delivery, and we figure out where is there wasted time, wasted energy, wasted money. And usually we find a lot of it. And the goal is just to make everything super lean, simple, and efficient because profit is an efficiency metric. So if you don't have a whole lot of profit, you're not being very efficient. And obviously time is money, right? So right now, I want you to think about if you were being hyper efficient with your time and operating at full efficiency, how much more money do you think your business could profit just in the next 30 days? Additional 10K, 20K, 50K, 100K, 200K? So the question I've got for you, and this is a 1-3-5 question, is are you and your business as efficient as you could be? Are you spending time putting out fires, answering questions, fixing mistakes, and paying people to do manual tasks? Are you using AI to the full extent that you know you could be? Or do you not have the time to investigate that because you're too busy with other shit? So all of that is silently costing most coaches thousands and thousands of dollars. So mark it down here, 1, 3, 5. Most coaches are kind of a 1 here. It's usually pretty bloated and inefficient, but put down whatever it is for you. All right, so when we can free up our time and we simplify and automate everything in our business that we possibly can, and we don't get fires anymore, we don't get dumb questions anymore, we don't have to fix our team's mistakes anymore, we might not even have to manage nearly as many team members anymore. At that point, our business runs largely on autopilot, and at that point, we have solved the time problem. Right? And that will go a very long way to eliminating stress, of course, right? But in order to have real mental freedom, that peace of mind every single day, first thing that we need to do is we need to clarify the vision. And that includes, as basic as this may sound, your goals and why you want to achieve them. Most likely when you started your online coaching business, it was painful. And so you worked hard enough to get above this threshold of pain, simply because your motivation at that point was what we call an away from motivation. And so you ran away from pain and you started tasting some success. But the problem being pain motivated is that once you hit that level of success, things get comfortable. The pain goes away, and so does the motivation. And so what happens is we then sink back down to the pain line again. And so we work really hard and we get comfortable again, and we sink back down to the level of pain again. And this is a large part of what causes the income roller coaster, is because it's a constant runaway from pain. So if this roller coaster has ever happened to you, even if you think you're clear on your goals and your why, the fact that this is happening is evidence that you're not. And that's not to make you wrong. It's just nobody's ever explained this to you. So we take our clients through a process where we guide them through to get clear on their purpose and mission, their destination, their goals, where they're going and why. And we have a process to mentally link them together so that they break through this plateau and they're constantly pulled towards the big vision. And what I've found is most coaches don't have a very clear vision. They just say they want to get to 100K a month or $1 million a month, and they want to be rich. Like, it's just so vague. So we got to link all of that together to where it's a deeply rooted internal long-term towards motivation. That was one of the first things that we started with Brandon, because he was experiencing the roller coaster too, just at a higher level. He had hit that threshold. And so we established that larger vision for him, and well, his results speak for themselves. And this process actually reverse engineers all of the checkpoints along the way, and then gives you the daily specific activities, the main ones that really move the needle the most. And we have a tracker built into it, so it's pretty much impossible to veer off track, because if you aren't clear on where you're going or why, you're just guessing and wandering around, because vague targets cause vague results. So the question is, are you clear on exactly where you're going and why? Are you consistently doing what's required to get there? If that's all good, give it a 5. If it's kind of okay-ish, give it a 3. And if it really needs work, give it a 1. I'd say most coaches are around a 3 here, but whatever it is for you, mark it down. All right, so we're clear on where we're going. We're clear why we're going there. So what could possibly get in our way now? Well, we need to make sure that our inner demons, so to speak, don't show up and sabotage our efforts, right? So to do that, we need to clear the mental trash. Right, so let me ask you, do you make better decisions when you're calm and relaxed, or when you're anxious, pissed off, or frustrated? Obviously, when you're calm and relaxed. And here's the thing. When you're anxious or frustrated, the analogy I like to use is it's kind of like being mentally drunk. And if I gave you the best business blueprint in the world while you're hammered drunk, could you execute on it? No, obviously not. So the problem isn't that you need more information. You already know what to do. You already have the knowledge. What stops all of us from executing on that knowledge is the mental trash that causes us to get pulled off track. The fears, the doubts, the limiting beliefs, the underlying rumblings of the mind, the mental chaos. And so that's why we developed what we call our bulletproof mind system. And what we do is we have a process where in our onboarding, we take an inventory of what's all the limiting beliefs and stuff that effectively hold you back. And we ask questions in a very specific way. I worked with a guy for 3 years to effectively have this process facilitated on myself. And by the way, the time period that I worked with that guy to facilitate this was right here. And well, you can see what happened after that. And so we basically take an inventory of all the stuff, whether you're conscious of it or not. And then we have a series of tools in a software that basically just ask you a sequence of questions that allows you to transform each one. So fear becomes confidence, and doubt becomes certainty, and overwhelm becomes clarity. And it's simply because when we change the way we look at things, the things that we look at change. And so all we're doing is changing the way that we're looking at the things in our life. And we create new beliefs, new thoughts, new actions or inactions, and we get new results. And as Warren Buffett says, if you can't manage your emotions, you can't manage money. And with how the world is currently, if you can't manage your emotions, you can't manage much of anything. Emotions are very expensive in business. So that's just the tip of the iceberg as to how emotions affect our wealth. But this is, I love this guy, Roderick. Roderick was stuck at $20K a month for over 2 years. He'd spent over $200,000 on courses, masterminds, programs, but he just had a thing that prevented him from doing the marketing and sales activities that were required to hit his targets. You can see here, he says, John told me, bro, I'm telling you, crazy shit will happen when you start doing this work. And holy fuck, was he right? Insanity. After just clearing the fears around sales and marketing, he had more sales in that 14-day period than in the last 6 months. He did 140K and he's been with me for 6 months. He's consistently averaged 50K a month in take-home profit in about 10 to 15 hours a week. And that's after basically like almost no profit for 2 years. This is the main catalyst to my client Victoria going from, she started with me at 100K a month. She actually doubled her business to 200K a month, became way more profitable. And she had a lot of challenges with some team members. And obviously that creates inefficiency. And so when we clear up those challenges and we clear up those emotional triggers, we tend to just do better. And so does our team. And my client Zan, same thing. He came to me already doing 500K a month. In this little screenshot here, he says, I'm about to crack $1 million a month. I don't have the screenshot here, but he's actually doing over 3 million a month now. And he knew that staying even keel and calm was his best decision-making state. And he knew he needed a way to get there. And well, the rest, as they say, is history. And we've got hundreds of stories like this. And this was actually the backbone system of when we first started this company before we started adding these other components to really make it the full freedom protocol. But as we talked about, freedom of time and money, they will always come and go. And that's why I believe that the truest freedom starts with mental freedom. And I believe you deserve that, especially when it's possible. And it's a shame that so many people are all stressed out and chaotic and don't have any real tools to deal with this. And it's also like kind of tough to admit, like raise my hand, say I have emotional issues. Like it's not the point. I mean, you're either going to live the rest of your life that way or you're going to do something about it. So the question I have got for you here is, are you currently to some degree telling yourself that everything is fine when you know it really isn't and you're just hoping that it just goes away? Are you feeling heavy, anxious, frustrated? Do you have mental chatter that doesn't stop even when you step away? Or are you feeling light? Are you feeling calm? So if you're great in this area, perfect, give it a 5. If kind of needs some work, give it a 3. And if you're pretty stressed out and it's pretty rough, give it a 1. Between us, I'm gonna put a 1 here because that's kind of the reality. Is most coaches that I talk to on the surface, they think they've got their shit together. But the reality is your level of wealth is a direct reflection of your actual mental and emotional state, not the one that you're trying to convince yourself you have. Something to think about. All right, so we've got our business on autopilot and we have peace of mind every day. So there's one more step here, and that's how do we go from inconsistent cash flow to our wealth growing every single month on autopilot? All right, so the financial freedom plan for most coaches is chase more leads, more clients, more revenue, and make decisions based on their Stripe screenshots or the occasional look at their bank statements. And they tell themselves they'll just figure out the rest later. Right now, 10x, baby. But then the tax bill hits, then the payroll hits, then the refund requests hit, and suddenly they're not even sure if they made any money this month. That is the sad reality of the majority of 6- and 7-figure online coaching businesses. So what do? They double down, they work harder, they spend more on ads, they hire more people, they scale, and they end up creating a monster that is draining both their bank account and their energy. And that is if they even have the guts to check their bank account to actually face the number. And unfortunately, their financial freedom plan is nothing more than a hope that if they just keep going, it'll all somehow work out someday. Now, it's not their fault. The marketing and sales and setters, closers, operations, courses, programs, and mentorships and shit that you bought, they certainly didn't teach you that, mainly because those people running those programs, they don't have their shit together either. It's kind of the blind leading the blind, which is why a lot of those people come to me, is to fill in those gaps. But the truth is, money flows to organized places, and it stays and grows in those places as long as whoever's managing that money manages and allocates it well. And that is the job of a CEO, is asset allocation. And assets are time, energy, and money. Okay. So to manage something, we have to track it. It's the only way that we can see if things are getting better or worse. And as the saying goes, that which is measured improves, and that which is measured and reported back improves exponentially. So the first thing that we got to do is we need to master your numbers. Financial freedom is a numbers game, and a numbers game only. Anybody who tries to convince you that is something other than a numbers game is not correct, all right? In order to change reality, we have to face reality. And eventually, you're going to have to face reality anyway. So the first thing that we do is we calculate what we call your freedom number. Let me show you what that looks like. So when we talk about living our ideal lifestyle, even if our coaching business shits the bed, that's a particular number. And that number is the number of liquidity that we need. And so that is the destination on the map. And so what we do is we aim for immortality. This is the target. Once we calculate this number, we can have the turn-by-turn directions reverse engineered. And so along this journey, we're going to hit certain checkpoints along the way towards immortality. And one of those checkpoints is achieving freedom. What we do to master your numbers is we install kind of like your financial and business GPS system, so that you know exactly how much you need to spend on ads, how many leads you need to get, calls, clients, cash, expenses, everything by day, week, month, quarter, and year in order to hit your profit goals and have enough left over after tax, after your personal life expenses, to actually feed your investments. So it simply becomes a numbers game. You know, if we zoom in and we know what it's going to take to get to this checkpoint, and we know what it takes to get to here and to here, well, that's all knowable information. If we do all that, then we'll probably get to here. And if we do that, we'll probably get to here. And before you know it, we'll be well on our way towards this freedom number. And at that point, it basically becomes impossible for your wealth to not continue to grow month over month. It's a mathematical certainty. And again, that is exactly what I did right here. That's why this continues to go up and to the right. And so this is why we have all of our clients use our Teddy tracking system, so that we can see all of the necessary metrics, so that we can diagnose what turn do we need to make, how do we project the future to know what's coming up, what do we need to do, what do we need to adjust, and do it now in proactive mode rather than be in reactive mode and going, oh shit, why are things tanking, and spend months trying to clean it up. That's what most people do, but that's not what the millionaires do. The millionaires calculate it, and very few millionaires get rich by accident. And this is how we make decisions with our clients, and why they get such great results is because everybody else makes decisions based on the most recent YouTube video that they watched, or how they're feeling that day, or what a speaker at a mastermind said, or what their friend's doing. And they end up wasting a ton of time, energy, and money going in the wrong direction. And they just kind of like do this for a while and wonder where they are. And that's a shame, because when it's possible to have this, all we do is we make decisions with our clients like a Fortune 500 company. We review numbers and we make decisions based on data. And that way we just make faster, more accurate, and more efficient decisions based on the raw reality, whether it's comfortable or not. When my clients come to me and they say, I feel like this, I say, well, hang on, let's see what the data says to do. And 9 times out of 10, what they thought was the thing that they were supposed to be doing was not the right thing. And so thank God we have data so that we can stay on track. And so we treat it like a true board of advisors. And when you make decisions this way, it makes it mathematically impossible to not make more profit and have your wealth grow every month. All right, so the question I have for you at this point is, do you have a business and financial GPS that you can plug in your goals, and you know exactly the milestones that you need to hit so that you can live your ideal lifestyle today while simultaneously building your wealth for years to come, and set yourself up so that in the next 5 or 10 years, you never have to work again if you don't want to, and you can do it because you actually like doing it, and still live an amazing lifestyle? Or are you kind of still guessing, flying blind, and hoping that you never really have to address this? And mark that down here 5 if it's perfect, crystal clear, 3 if it's kinda, and 1 if you're completely flying blind. So most people here are a 1. All right, so at this point, we're almost there. You're doing great. We have clear data, we know how to make decisions with it, but we don't want to leave things up to chance. We want control. And so we want to remove our emotions from our decision-making processes as much as possible. We want to be data-driven, not feeling-driven. And over time, to be clear, once your feelings match what the data says to do, you're cooking with gas. You can kind of start to basically predict the future, and now you really, really know how to play this game. But you can't rely on your gut, especially in the stage of chaos and competition. It's just not going to work. So what we need to do is we need to automate your wealth machine. This one is the secret sauce. If there was a secret sauce, this one is the secret sauce. It's the simplest to do. It's also the simplest not to do. And practically nobody does this, which is why practically nobody is a millionaire. Because again, money flows away from chaos and into order and organization. And so what we need to do is we need to make sure that your accounts, like your checking accounts, your merchant accounts, your investment accounts, business, personal, tax, we need to make sure that they're all set up correctly. We need to be a good steward of money. Money loves to be in the hands of good stewards. It runs away from people who aren't good stewards of money. And so we're going to set up some basic rules and automations that you never have to think about, that basically make it a mathematical certainty that you become a liquid millionaire. And it happens totally on autopilot, where you don't have to do anything manually. It's beautiful. Right here is when I first set up these automations for myself. And there's a couple things to tweak once or twice a year, but that's about it. And again, this is how we got Justin to where he had like 20, maybe 30 grand in the bank when we first started working together, and he's become a liquid millionaire. Cash, investments, crypto, liquid millionaire. And to be clear, there's a certain allocation structure to where you want to make sure you follow the right percentage rules when you're doing this. You don't want to like YOLO into Dogecoin. You saw what happened with people who did that. So there's certain rules to follow, and Justin followed them, and he was able to live like an absolute king, and still does, while simultaneously building wealth. That's the goal. It's the same thing that we set up for Shannon a couple of years ago. He lives just outside of Portland. He's a, hunt and fishing truck, simple guy who's not looking for enormous scale. He's optimizing just for kind of like a pretty stress-free 25K a month in take-home profit. And he's gone from about a 20K net worth a couple of years ago to over 150K, and his expenses are super low, and he's just chilling. His wealth is growing on autopilot, and he's just been cruising. He hasn't had enormous months, but he is smart with money and has just followed these rules and set up these automations, and it helped him buy his first house, a new truck. He's actually, I think it's this weekend, he's getting married, and he's just enjoying life. Where there's a lot of people that I know that are generating over 100K a month top line, yet their liquid net worth is like 25, maybe 50 grand. Well, Shannon's richer than a lot of people I know who have 7-figure businesses. Something to think about. What are we optimizing for? All right, so the question I have for you here is your wealth growing every single month on autopilot? Have you automated your most important money decisions so that you take the emotion out of it, or have you avoided it? Put a 5, a 3, or a 1. Most coaches are a 1 here. But when you've mastered your numbers and you've automated your wealth building so that your wealth grows every single month, you're well on your way to financial freedom, and your cash flow problems kind of go away, and your vague plan is now a simple, clear roadmap. And when you have all of these, we've freed up our time, we've simplified and automated the business. We have a clear vision of where we're trying to go and why, and we're getting pulled towards it so we don't have to be pain motivated anymore. And we've cleared all the mental limitations and roadblocks so nothing bothers us, and we know exactly how to clear them if and when they do come up, and we can get back on track quicker. Well, at that point, we have the peace of mind every day, and the business is running itself. And when we've mastered our numbers and you know what you're on pace for, when you're going to get there, how fast you're going, and you've automated your investments, your tax allocations, and you know how to responsibly live and grow the lifestyle that you want to live, and your wealth is growing every single day. Well, at that point, we finally have clarity, we have control, and we're building our wealth. And we are well on our way to the 7-figure freedom that we started this business for in the first place. And on our cool little map here, we're even on our way to this state of immortality. But let's come all the way back down to where you are right now today. So we've got a full diagnosis on our constraints. We want to add up our numbers on the top left here. So in this case, we got a 4. On the top right, we got a 4. And on the bottom, we have a 2. And so each of these is at a possible score of 10. So in this case, 4 out of 10, 4 out of 10, 2 out of 10. That gives us a total score. If you need to grab your calculator, go right on ahead, but I'll do it for you on this example. You can do yours. We have 10 out of 30. So what's your total score out of 30? A lot of people come to me saying they feel like they're not operating at their full capacity, like they have a lot more in the tank. And I found this to be a really accurate diagnostic in terms of how much more you have left in the tank and where the real gaps are. And so in this case, 10 out of 30 would be 33%. At this point, do you see why you might be still stuck in this plane of competition, of chaos, still stalling, still firefighting, maybe still doing some grinding, some hustling, despite knowing what to do? This is what everyone misses, but now you won't, or at least you have an opportunity to not miss this. And so the question is, now that we've done this little diagnostic, is what are the main levers that you feel like you could pull over the next 30, 60, 90 days, like your big 3? So maybe for you, you're like, you know what, I really need to simplify and automate my business. I really need to master my numbers, and I really need to clear the mental trash, right? Great, we've identified it. And behind each of these is a series of tools and processes and playbooks that we install into your coaching business. So I appreciate you coming along on that journey with me. If you've made it this far, that was probably pretty enlightening and eye-opening, maybe a little bit disappointing for you. That's totally common. But if you want to find out more about what it's like to work with us and install some of these systems and get you into that freedom territory on your way to that immortality territory, just find me on Instagram at bulletproof.john and DM me the word bulletproof. And I've got a little automation that'll send you all the details, including pricing and everything. I don't have any setters and closers or anything like that in there. I don't do that anymore. You don't need to book a sales call or anything like that. You'll just be able to see all the details. And if it's a fit for you, you'll know it and you'll know what to do next. If not, absolutely no worries. And so if this has been useful for you, shoot me a DM with the word bulletproof on Instagram, and I'll see you in my inbox.